Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. I know, so I apologize, for the, little bit of a late start here. I know we probably have some viewers out there just scratching their heads, itching to start watching the program. So, what we'll do is we'll call this meeting to order at 5:03, to continue our regular council meeting. First off, once again, tonight we're meeting, I'd just like to acknowledge that we're gathered on Treaty 5 territory. That's the ancestral and traditional lands of our neighbors of Passamaquoddy Cree Nation, as well as the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. I'll call this meeting to order. We have Councillor Forster is away. And what we do is we do have one addition to our agenda, so we will readopt our agenda to carry on with one addition. Somebody has a motion to add that additional item to the agenda.
Don't have, we'll make one up. Move that we adopt the, amend the agenda, adding item 9.3.3 being the assessment branch services, additions and deletions of property.
Is there any questions or concerns with adding that and just amending our agenda to include that? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Thank you. So let's move to that resolution right now so we don't miss it.
Resolution 2024-216 moved by myself, second by Councillor Allen. Whereas each year assessment services submits additions and deletions to the assessment roll. Therefore, it be resolved that the council approve the deletions in the amount of $633.61 and additions and in the amount of $10,398.06 to the 2023 real property tax roll. Deletions in the amount of $26,795.22 and additions in the amount of $31,041.95 to the 2023 real property tax roll as contained in the listing from the Manitoba Municipal Relations as of October 27, 2024.
So this is, after we have our assessment, we get from assessment branch, this is good news for the community, because we are going up in assessments and not down, so it's adding additional, tax dollars coming in, to the municipality. So is there any further questions with any of this? I see no questions. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Now back to where we were. We were at 10:04. Thank you, Councillor.
The fire chief complete? Were you able to complete? We didn't cut.
No,
Okay.
yeah, we were at management reports. So everybody had a chance to look at the management reports. Any comments or questions with that?
There was nothing from recreation.
Oh, it wasn't?
I did a report from recreation. I was just wondering if one is coming next meeting or if it was just omitted.
Preparation presentation?
No, for management reports.
Okay.
That's a good catch. Yes, that's good. Yeah, we would like to try to get one every month from every department, if that's possible, unless there's something else that comes up. I do have one question around VADM. I see it's lands in the finance report, seems to be a bit of a barrier, for us to move some things forward. Is there anything we need to do to help with that? So if you look in the finance, I know it's with Laura, but you know, online billing, there seems to be some pushback there. Is there anything we need to help with that? Council?
And Laura is working on improving that. And we had that discussion this afternoon too. I think the recommendation will be coming during the budget season.
Okay.
I just want to make one more comment, just because I'm a broken record. It would really be nice to see those goals and objectives instead of just a report and a rehashing of each month, it'd be really nice to see, I say, this is what we hope to do next month, like at the end of the report, say, these are the things we're hoping to do. So then we have gauges and measures of if we're actually doing what we want to, rather than just going through the motions. I would like to see that if possible. And I'm not sure if that needs a resolution as a request, or if it's just something that could be asked to say, hey, let's have goals, because again, it's easy to say, I did this, I did that, I did that. But what was your objective for the month? What did you set out to do? Would be nice to see as part of that report. So then we have checks and balances and measures to see if we're achieving what we want to be achieving.
So are these reports designated for council or designated for you, Bola?
This monthly report is designated for council,
For
but
council
for the
directly?
objective and what's planned to do should be for CEO. And like I said, council should give us their expectation, and I think it's a responsibility of myself to make sure that I give back the report, not the planning and not the process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't need to know process or anything else, but it would be nice to know that, again, to just have a report that says, oh yeah, we did this, we did this, we did this. You're gonna say, but you were hoping to do these. Was there something we could have done to support them, to make it happen? Is there something that maybe we fell short on? Maybe there's a way we can support to ensure we're reaching goals. Because again, being a previous
That's not
manager,
our role.
Just one second.
but our role is to support. That's all.
And we do that by approving their budget. CEO looks after the day-to-day, month-to-month operations, whether goals are achieved or not. If they're not achieved and there's a severe reason for that, then that comes.
And I agree with that. However, how do we know if we're on that path? We never know what the objective is for the next month.
I don't disagree with Councillor Manich as well, but what I would like to talk about though, is we created a strategic plan that has an operational plan linked to it. And I don't know if every month we need to understand exactly what's happening or what I'm choosing to do next month. But I do believe that we should be seeing some sort of accomplishments off of our strategic plan and that plan that's been issued to us. So I don't know if anybody's looked at that plan since we've developed it, but there's specific things in there that we said we were gonna accomplish in 2023 and specific things that we're gonna accomplish in 2024. I think what Councillor Manich is saying is that, are we accomplishing what we laid out in our annual plan as related to our strategic plan? I don't wanna know that you painted, I'm planning on painting 2 benches next week.
Right.
Doesn't matter to me, but I do wanna know that we're progressing on the strategic plan that we've laid out for the next year.
And we were receiving a report. That's where my conversation comes from. We used to get a report that said, hey, this is what we did in this quarter, or this is part of our capital, for example. That was like a little blip of projects that we had planned. Fire chief had said, we want to get the washing machines, we want to get SCBA's. We got a report to say those happen as capital. There's no reason why on a different level, to me, there's no difference in reading a report of what you did in comparison to, these are what we hope to do. It's not micromanaging, and to me, it's not asking about operations. It's about saying, hey, you did a great job because you did everything you set out to do. It's able for us to be more positive and be more complimentary towards their operations and understand what they're facing with. When municipal superintendent gives us a report that says, we did 15 water breaks. Well, now we understand why he didn't achieve the 2 benches getting painted. Again, we don't need to be that specific, but it shows and gives us a good picture of what they're facing day to day, and therefore we're able to be more sympathetic and understanding when things do fall short. So again, it's not about micromanaging, it's about understanding what they're facing that happens in this report. Because we could nitpick this report every month, right? That shouldn't be our job to nitpick it, but it helps us understand the challenges and the successes they're having each month.
Are we clear what we're looking for here though, I think as a group, because I don't wanna have us creating reports if there's no value in them. I think what we're saying is that it's great for us to understand the successes from the staff on what they're doing. But I also think us as council, we really need to see it from a higher level on progress towards the strategic plan.
And that information would come to the CAO.
Exactly.
You are right on the edge of, when we get these reports, as council manager is asking or suggesting, if we get a report like that and they didn't do something, nobody's gonna ask a question. That's micromanaging.
Yeah.
It's the CAO that looks after that.
You're thinking of asking an actual report. What I'm saying is, along with, as, like I said, municipal superintendent providing what he did the previous month, he could list just a couple of goals. I'm not saying, how many times do you plan on having the street sweeper go by my house? I'm saying, these are the things we're hoping to do before winter comes. These are the things we're hoping. We have a list regularly of unfinished business. You could say, hey, our signs arrived, we're gonna be doing this month. It's just simple little things to keep us in connection with how you achieve the report that you're submitting now. Because the argument I'm kind of hearing is, we don't need to do that. Well, then we don't really need these reports either. We don't need to know what they do because we can observe all these things. I can see that the fire department went out every Wednesday night for practice. I can see that things happen, but it's nice to know how they achieve those through their goals. That's all. Again, it's not an additional report. It's a secondary little portion of their compiling of data to say, this is what I hope to do next month. That's it.
Just my own
I don't-
personal opinion, I think the reports are fine the way they are.
I don't need to know if you're going to be putting up signs next time. I don't need to know that, like, why do I need? to
We're
know
using that as an
We-
example.
So you know what, guys, let's just take this off, let's just take this offline.
Forget
Let's
it.
just take this offline, and what maybe we can do is, as part of our, a smaller group, with the CAO, we can make sure that we're getting the right information that council needs. I don't wanna, my concern is, you know, if we're not getting enough value out of this, council needs to understand, we did invest a lot of money in our strategic plan. We really need to see that that's progressing, and however that looks, it looks. So we'll take this offline for now, and then we can come back and make sure that Bola is getting the right message from us. Okay, anything else with the management reports? Okay, so what, water filling station, unfinished business, I think those are.
We didn't go through the community safety report.
Oh, sorry, well, I was taking it as part of management reports.
Yeah, and I was wondering if that's gonna be normal, if they'll always provide a separate report,
Yes,
or
because I noticed that community safety reports, they have a unique characteristics compared to other departments.
but
So
at the
this
same
is
time,
the
there's a lot
first
of
time,
overlapping, right?
yes, this is first time of me being separated. So I separated it so that I want the council to be able to know what they are doing, because it's kind of a new department, which is quite different from others. So I just said, let me do it this way, whether it will be good, whether the council will actually get the message, or I can take it back to the monthly report.
Part of the reason why I bring up what I brought up in the previous discussion is we had a group meeting with the public safety, or sorry, the community safety officer manager. And we set goals. We said, we're hoping to see at least 5 letters a week. That was something that was said. Now they compiled a total of, I'm not quite sure how it's read here. It could mean either there was 13 letters or there were 6 letters. I'm unsure in the report. But that's not reaching the goal that was established by the committee that said, we hope to see what would be an average of 20 letters a month. If that's not being achieved, how come? Right? It gives us a chance to be proactive to say, what else can we do? Again, that's not management from a point of view. That's saying, these were what we're hoping to do. There's been discussion about the community safety officers. What exactly do we hope them to do? We don't want them to be an extension of the police, but it sounds like that's what the focus has been, is assisting our current police force instead of bylaw enforcement, because there's only 6 letters written. I mean, I can walk down 3rd Street and write 20 letters. So
They are helping RCMP to some extent, but that is not the main. There are other things that they have been working on.
for sure, but one of their directions was, we would like to see 5 letters a month for enforcement. And then 5 letters isn't coming, so then we could say, hey, we went out for training, or hey, our focus went elsewhere. Okay, now we understand what's happening. So when people say, why do we have community safety officers if we're not doing anything? They're driving a truck now instead of on the street. We can adjust and hopefully give some valid answers to our community members when they say, hey, they're actually away on training right now, or their focus has been elsewhere. it allows us to be informed and transparency becomes,
They are going through training now, so by the time they get back.
but they just left, this is September's report.
So
Okay,
they
so
don't
you
know
hear
what-
you hear what we're looking for there, Bola.
Yeah,
Okay, unfinished business, water filling stations. Installed, purchased, I'm assuming. Everything's good.
yes.
Just for clarification on this water filling station, is just since we just had a extensive discussion about micromanagement and all that. Why would this not have been something that would be addressed as an ongoing maintenance issue as opposed to us having to have brought it up, right? Like if the door came off the hinges at the arena, it wouldn't come to us. So why, just for clarification, why does
That's what we
this one
said.
thing have to come to us and us push it?
I brought that up at a meeting only because, I was approached at the rink, RHG the last 2 times I've been there. Why is there a out of order sign on this? The kids have to get their water bottles filled up at the wellness center. Why is they have 2, neither one of them are working? And they said, I don't know, across the border, I'm sure new one. And so then they come in and then that's what it's thinking here, the discussion. It's gonna cost this amount for new proper ones, so I think that's what they've gone.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're talking about our table, it's just that it seemed like, my understanding from the municipal superintendent and from a rec director is that without our okay, they weren't gonna get
Yeah.
back to the next.
And I think that's the gap that we have to identify, because I think we have to ensure that the delegation of authority is appropriate for the departments that do their work.
Mhm.
And when there's something that they believe that it's not, that they've raised that issue with us so that they can get approval ahead of time. I think it was a bit of a process issue. So,
But as we found out, like I said, a $1,500
yeah,
fountain, the fountain from being a previous employee there, the fountain next to the hallway, in the hallways for the players to fill, hasn't worked all season long. All last year, it didn't work. It leaked one day, so they just shut it off. That's not appropriate. And yes, it shouldn't have to come to council. That should be a maintenance director or whoever goes in and says, we need a new item here.
Yeah.
If it's a ridiculous expense or they want to change something, then maybe come to council. So that's a maintenance wear and tear item.
yeah, I think the council, I think our administration is aware now what our expectations are and that kind of stuff.
Because if you read what I attached, you see that the recreational manager actually ordered for some things for prevention purpose before they. If you read.
Yeah, there was workarounds or whatever, but,
Yes,
But that's something that they could come to us in advance and say, hey, I don't have budget money to replace the fountains and we're having issues with them. Could we allot for that? I mean, we've had other managers come and say, hey, I want to spend a bunch extra money.
Yeah.
And either we agree or support. But to me, that's a maintenance item
Yeah,
that
I agree with you.
shouldn't have to come forward.
Anything else on that, Counselor? Landfill costs, everybody have a look at that? Any comments?
What are we doing to try to head this off? To add $150,000 over a 3-year period, 2.5-year period? What has been done to hopefully curb some of that? Why the big jump? It's not just the collecting cans or trying to find copper or whatever it may be. There has to be something, and what is a potential action plan for stopping this? I mean,
there have been a couple of recommendations from municipal superintendents on. I remember there was a time that he sent an issue sheet to council recommending some preventive method like fencing and some other things. But would that really curb the situation? I doubt it. And that is why we are looking at this GIO grant application for prevention.
but in the meantime, what are we doing?
Well, I think, Sam, you wanna come up? I know you and Tanvir did a lot of work with just grooming and getting the landfill back in shape up there, so maybe share some of the.
Yeah, so sorry, I don't know exactly what you guys are looking at in terms of, I believe that's something that the fire department has provided you, so.
Yeah, it just shows like a lot more calls for fires.
Yeah, we've definitely seen significant increase in traffic out there. I don't know exactly what is causing, we have some theories regarding the access that some of the population is having out there. We know there's a lot of picking going on. It's getting aggressive. Different enforcement avenues we've looked at have kind of fallen off where we haven't been successful. We talked about probably putting a fence up. We all know that potentially that would have some impact for some time until the fence got damaged, and then we're just continually fixing the fence. So
But what you've done right now will, is gonna make a significant impact.
correct, and so we had to bring a contractor to do a significant amount of capping, which has definitely improved what it looks like out there in terms of what's going on, but we're still seeing foot traffic in there. We're almost at a point where we have to find a way to work with the population that's gaining access to provide them. Like it's to a point where it's like, we just provide them some burn cans out there for them to start little fires, and you know what I mean? Like that's the point where you've reached, like, they're still getting into the burn bays, they're still getting into the scrap metal, they're still getting into the garbage.
Because of this rate increase, you could almost hire full-time security out there and still be ahead. Like you could have someone sit there through the
But it-
evening when the dump closes, and it'd be cheaper than what we've currently paid, right?
Yeah, what I'm gonna say though, and this is my whole business hat, this is not real cost though. Because real costs are the service fees of the guys going out there, so the volunteer firemen that are going out there. Our fire chief is already paid, so that's not an additional community cost.
They would be though, because there'd be overtime attached.
If there's overtime, I agree, but I'm saying that I don't think all of these are all on overtime. But if they are, then you're right. Equipment cost is not real, that's a rental cost, there's a wear and tear cost and a depreciation cost that you could relate to. The fuel costs, I don't really understand how that logic is, because sometimes you're gone for 2 hours and you spend, $60, and sometimes you're gone for 3 hours and that's $300. So, I don't know exactly the whole scheme of it, whether, so fuel cost is potentially one. The volunteer fire department is potentially one. Water cost is, I think, maybe a little bit more than really it is, but because I know our water cost isn't a penny a liter. But it is, I'm not downplaying it, there is an actual cost here. I don't think it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars as it is, but it's a cost. Now, when you look at if we're gonna put a business case together on this, then that's what we need to use as a business case on what it is. Because investing $400,000 to put up a fence or do something or put a full-time person and not really, you're never gonna eliminate this from happening completely. Use your asset management principles. I'm not sure what the solution is. But it is concerning. When I looked at this, is really the number of calls and the number of calls have increased. That's the big change, right? Where in the past there was not that many on this report, but at the same time, this was coming out of COVID, and I don't know if we have more activity out there. Do we have to get more enforcement with our CSOs? So I don't know what the answer is.
It's a definitely a multi-layered issue,
Yeah.
right? It's socioeconomic, it's things out of the control of all of us to an extent, right?
Yeah.
So,
The liabilities of allowing this to just continue, with regards to creating spaces for people out there. I don't think that's a good solution. I think we need to continue doing what we're doing, locking the place up, reporting any incidents we have, calling our CSOs when we have, and fire prevention practices. So like you said, you've capped a big area, separate our burn bays as much as we can. Don't let those things catch on fire, and if we can keep moving our garbage to the areas where there's being covered, and then hopefully we don't get into the mess that we were in. So I think I will take it as for information for right now. I don't know if there's anything you're specifically asking for us for in this. but it was a report, I think Councillor Allen was asking for, and thanks to Byron, I know he's sitting back there, for putting it together. Anything else with that, anybody?
With your burn bays, how often would you burn them if they weren't being set on fire by somebody else?
I'd say almost like once a month, once every 2 months is probably our average, where we light them up. Summer it's a little bit busier, obviously, as more yard waste coming in, things will slow down significantly in the winter. But yeah, in the summer, we're once a month, we're probably trying to light them. Obviously, like weather, like wind, if it's super dry out, we're gonna hold off as long as we can, so. Yeah, it sort of fluctuates throughout the year.
So where out there is the fires predominantly starting at?
Most of what I believe, and maybe the fire chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's in the active waste cell mostly. We get the occasional burn bay fire, but it's the active waste that causes sort of the most time of the membership and the most hours from the membership, and also will pose the greatest risk as well because of the nature of what's burning. Theoretically, the burn bays are for clean wood, brush, and grass. That's not always the case, unfortunately, but the active waste cell can be everything else. So a lot more toxins and a lot more problems in there.
So I'm gonna bring up a positive. I don't know his name, younger gentleman works at the dump. I had to compliment him huge last month, and I told him I was even gonna tell you, but I hadn't really seen you. He was amazing. He was very thorough. He wanted to make sure that everything was separated. He did what your dump attendant should be doing.
So the site attendant himself, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that's a great.
So, and I said, he was great. And I said, I'm gonna make sure I tell Sam, because he actually came to me, he goes, you gotta separate this. I said, don't worry, I am. But anyway, he did a great job. And I think there needs to be a lot more out of that. That will help cut down on fires, because I feel that, I mean, just as our fire chief can point out, you get a fire on your deck because someone throws out hot ashes, they throw out cigarette butts, they do whatever. They're bringing that garbage to our landfill. I don't think it's all the street people and things like that that are like fires. They're accidental as well. But by being a little more proactive at the gate, and I know you and I have talked about this for years when we used to be co-workers, doing a good job at that gate, whether it becomes separating recycling or charging when people don't bundle their loads properly, not separating, enforcing the bylaws that we have currently. But I really think having somebody at that gate, when they're scaling, someone being able to check and say, do you have anything hot? Do you have, like, I'm sure there's guys dumping coals. I'm sure there's all kinds of things that could be contributing to those fires.
That's a good idea.
If we cut it by 20%, we're gonna be way ahead, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're at a point there for a while where the department wasn't even going to do it because we had 48 fires in such a short period of time. I remember the previous chief said, we're not gonna promote it anymore. Well, I'm one of the first streets that gets hit by that smell from the dump. So we want to talk about cancer prevention. Sorry, that whole neighborhood was being contaminated because of the number of fires we were having.
Yeah, we
So
installed
a little proactivity, I think, would be good.
and part of that proactivity, we installed some new cameras at the scale itself, to ensure that the staff in the scale can fully see into the back of the truck.
Oh,
We
good.
can, that there's a bit more monitoring going on, and if something does happen, we now have the data to go back and sort of look through some video, we get the license plate, we can send a warning letter saying, hey, you had a mixed load, you told us it wasn't. Now we have the proof sort of in video form as well, so little improvements like that,
Yeah, that's good.
we were hoping would help, but I think, yeah, be more proactive at the scale and at the.
We were talking earlier about education, it's sometimes just an education, just even a conversation. A lot of people don't think of it, right? They just throw everything in the garbage because they're heading to the dump, not their business anymore. But even a question by the dump attendant, hey, do you have anything that could be hot? Do you have anything that could be an issue? Sorry.
There's a buzzer.
That better not be, that better not be
The fire chief was aware that, I mean, a soap linseed oil thing in a bag can spontaneously ignite, right?
Right.
So there's things that happen that a little bit of education, again, can go a long way and help slow down some of these fires.
Perfect. So thanks for Byron for that. I know we skimmed out of here, so,
He timed that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an alarm.
Okay.
That your alarm will help you find another phone.
Okay, moving on to where we at here. Landfill cost, that's the same thing, just the signage, no updates on that. The website launched with some ongoing maintenance. derelict property, dental building, any
I think there's
update
something-
on?
We just talked to Bulldog Demolition, that's who we've hired to do the demo. They'll be mobilizing on Monday or Monday afternoon, we're sort of nailing it early next week, so we'll put out a notice tomorrow or Friday, letting the public know, because we're gonna have to maybe close a little bit of Second Street, just to kind of make their life a little bit easier, and
Yeah, for
also
sure.
for the fire hose to kind of make it so we're gonna do some planning tomorrow and kind of.
Just a question on that, is there any salvage on the electrical, all that electrical panel on the back and all that's a pile of money, I don't know if the town can use it or if it's all new,
Not too sure.
or does it just get punched up and just for fun?
I can, that's a good question, I can
Some of it.
chair there with them,
Typically, the demo crew, they would make that deal to say, we keep whatever is of value, like I said, of copper.
Right, this is drive down and see it, I was wondering. Anyway, just
Yeah, no, I can,
so
I
next
can
week,
have a look at the electrical, see if we can salvage something.
if it's something you need, so they're here next week?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, town hall meeting, so that's scheduled, so I think I sent you guys sort of what we're planning on there, really. Just an opportunity to go over our strategic plan with the community. And then have the managers give an update on sort of kind of what we've been talking about, just finished recently talking about. What's been going, what went well this year, what's still ongoing and what we got planned for next year. And like I said, a lot of that stuff is already in our strategic plan. So again, nothing else really on that, just as for information. Fees and schedule, that's ongoing. When do we think that will be done, Bola?
Yes, we're supposed to actually finish it this month, but, we actually, there are some managers that we are still getting data from.
Okay,
I have a little bit more information that we had to gather on our end for a couple of the fee structures.
okay,
And not one manager to all the managers, because everything has to be in one place.
Yeah.
That is causing a little bit of delay.
yeah, and then I think it would be important for us then to create a process where that's an annual review, and comes to council so that, we don't get so far behind. Ideally, if you just link the percentage to all of it, then you would never have to look at it again.
I think that's our goal. We just want to make sure that we set the bar correctly so that then we don't have to revisit for some time.
Remembrance Day letter, so right now I plan on attending, on the Legion. If there's duplicates that day, there might be one in Luciano, I'll be looking for somebody else. The housing letter, I did ask Bola, this was sent directly to me in my mailbox, I just told her to put it up there as communication. I don't know if this person is actually looking for that, but you know, as a community leadership, we can always encourage our landlords to rent to everybody and be inclusive. But that's pretty well all we can do. I know housing and rentals are in such prime, and we have our community development corporation that's, you know, working on trying to come up with ways to entice these type of things happening. I know that I'll be bringing us a couple of things to council over the next month, once we get some of this other stuff out of the way, to talk about sort of tax incremented financing or special service levies or whatever it happens to be, but we haven't got to that point yet. But for more information. Okay, I don't think there's we don't have any more citizen period, which is missing on this sheet. But, committee of the whole, moving there.
Resolved that we do now move ourselves into the committee of the whole with Mayor Murphy and the chair to discuss matters requiring our attention.
Okay, Manitoba Grow renewal opportunities. So this thing came across the desk a little while ago. I think there's, we're allowed to have 2 grant applications. One submitted by are you folks is around the landfill, and so tell us the story, Mr. Municipal Superintendent.
It's a bit of a mouthful, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say something
You can
else.
start calling me director.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, municipal
whatever you-
director.
Whatever you prefer.
Okay,
So I kind of, Tammy and I worked on a bit of the issue sheet to kind of give you guys a bit of the background, so. If you guys have questions, we can sort of, kind of go through that. I think sort of, again, it was a kind of a nice segue with, the costs associated with the recent issues we have at the landfill. Also in terms of our existing capacity at the landfill is problematic. And so. Tamir has a slide up right now, and I think you guys have a print bill in front of you as well.
yeah,
Regarding some of the general requirements of our landfill. The ones that are underlined in red are ones that in our current siting, in our current footprint, we are not able to achieve and adhere to those regulations. These are, the ones in red also are some that have been recently brought up in our recent inspections. The inspections that we've got recently are a little more thorough than before, and so we're seeing some greater issues that are being raised from our local enforcement branch.
so what does that actually mean? Like, when you say that, is that this is a mandatory order that we have to do now, or this is, in the next time you were gonna build something, make sure this is included?
In the letter we received, the compliance report was that these items need to be rectified. So, well, let's use this simple example of the second underlined red. A separation of 50 meters is required between the burnable waste stream and the tires. So currently where we house our tires, you can see it's delineated as used tire storage. And the burn bays are literally one after the other to the kind of the northeast of it. So there is no way that we can move those tires to be 50 meters away from those burnable areas. It's not physically possible in our footprint right now. So.
How far away are they? How far away are they right now?
12 feet, 20 feet.
Are tires recyclable?
Yeah.
So could you move your burnable tires to the other side of the landfill, that you've got capped and, burn it with the cap and set them there so that when, like on the other side of the landfill, and just eliminate that altogether?
We could try to move the tire bay, in terms of their pickup and delivery, like especially the pickup when the semi trailer comes to, with the picker to load them. We have to have a decent access point for the trailer, so, it'd be hard to put it up on top, for them to be able to back up and.
Hard, but not impossible.
Well, I mean, one rainfall and that driver will be cursing me out, but it is not impossible. So that was one example.
But when they mention this though, I guess what I'm trying to understand is that. Is this like a must do? You must do this immediately, or we're going to fine you and throw everybody in jail? Or is this something that this is highly recommended, and if you can do everything possible to do it?
It didn't feel like highly recommended. It felt like you need to achieve this.
Okay.
So in our response, and I kind of spoke to them kind of off to the side, I said, like, these are, yeah, we totally understand. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing these to our attention, but these are very significant challenges that we face to achieve this. So,
Because you couldn't make a burn bay. Be a bit smaller.
well, we could, even if we've eliminated one of the burn bays to turn. But we're working on another waste diversion for mattresses because those are turning into kind of a disaster out there as well. And every time someone throws a mattress in the active waste cell, you run it over with your compactor, all the springs and all the coils are now.
Yeah.
Become one with the compactor, and you have to spend time underneath it, and you can imagine how much the guys enjoy going underneath the compactor to grind out metal, but so just so that you guys are aware, these are some of the issues that we're facing currently with the existing setting. And just to give you kind of an idea of why we selected the landfill. So the picture in the top left corner is the airspace. We're trying to do an airspace calculation. We hired Woods Consulting a couple of years ago to put a report together. We weren't really happy with how that entire process went.
So just for everybody's, what is airspace?
That's the remaining capacity of the landfill. So that'd be like a 3D model of how much more capacity, how much more refuse and solid waste you could bring to the landfill. So when Woods Consulting did their calculation, they took into account the entire footprint of the landfill. So that would be deleting the burn bays, deleting the
Oh, okay,
metal bays. So the number was not really representative or appropriate.
okay.
So Tanvir thankfully and drafting sort of put together a new model, which is the bottom right. So the area that we recently capped is in red is phase one closed. So that is the height of the waste there has reached basically the treetops. And it's already challenging for the public to get up there. It's getting narrower. So we've capped it and closed it, and now the refuse is being moved into the phase two
So
location.
Sam, just so I understand the regulation, so when you say it's reached the height level, is it reached the regulatory height level?
That's a very good question, because at one point our license was specific to that being the maximum height. In the latest, I think, 2 renditions of the license, it has not stated that. But there is discussion of that being potentially reintroduced at the next time.
Yeah, but wouldn't we ask that question now though? So if we're trying to calculate the actual life, wouldn't we ask what the regulatory height level of the landfill is? And if they say it's lower, push to make it higher?
So even if we push to go beyond the phase one level, we're going to, the challenges of getting the refuse to the top of that pile are gonna become significantly more challenging. And a redesign is going to be required. So part of this calculation is also taking into consideration adding a bit more there, like not much more, but a bit more, and then also raising the phase 3 footprint to that, because we have to raise them all sort of simultaneously in order to achieve that, the addition. So Tanvir and Jim sort of broke it down into 4 quadrants of additional waste area. And in that, you'll see on the next slide, but we'll leave it here for now. But we are roughly estimating with that capacity is somewhere in the 7 to 10 year range of what we have left for landfill life. Now, unfortunately, we had a discussion with environmental approvals. As you see, phase 4 has been purposely made a gray area because it's become a gray area. So that's where the asbestos cells, that's where you see all the little quadrants that within that cell are the asbestos burial areas. There is not a great level of comfort right now from approvals to allow us to build that any higher on top of the asbestos, is what we were just told. So if we remove that from the calculation, saying that we have a limited amount that we can increase the volume in that area, but not much, we're talking 5 to 7 year of life expectancy
Without
with-
phase 4.
without phase 4.
With phase 4, what is it?
Back to 7, like 7 will be the 7 to 7.
So phase 4 adds you 2 years or?
Yeah, it's a big enough area and it's low lying enough, we can get it. So the top chart here is Woods Consulting. So what's been highlighted in red was the metric that we borrowed from him to do the airspace calculation. And then you see that, so we added a 15% buffer just to be safe. So the remaining lifespan with the entire 4 quadrants being taken to the max is about 7 years, with the removal of phase, I think it was quadrant 4. Quadrant 4, the gray area, we're down to 5 years-ish. So we're in that 5 to 7 year window of life expectancy. In the report, I know that we said less than 10 years, because we just wanted to kind of hammer out the calculations a little bit, more appropriately than we kind of have it tight for the report, but we're in that 5 to 7 year window is what our estimates have brought.
And once it's been closed, a certain section or cell, once it's been officially closed, it can't be reopened.
We've only closed it for ourselves.
us?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've capped it, we've
Okay,
closed
so
it, we
hasn't
want
been
to,
official.
Yes.
People to dump someone else.
yes, we want to
Okay.
raise the other levels so that we can sort of uniformly bring it up,
Okay.
because if we continue to go, and if we just go in that small quadrant, we're
Yeah.
just losing,
Understood.
losing
Okay.
your, so that is the unfortunate sort of situation we see ourselves in. So as for the GRO application, that's why we brought forward this as one potential project that we think could have some value add. And in discussions with the environmental approvals branch, because they know the condition we're in, right? They give us these letters, they want us to approve. Expanding a cell, can you maybe go back to the citing just so we can maybe speak off of that? Yeah. Yeah, so in theory, obviously, an engineering firm would have to be hired to kind of look at all the legalities and the ins and outs. But our thought would be to punch a road going from, so the top of the page will be north, we want to go from east to west. West to east across the top, and create a new landfill cell on the northeast corner of the kind of outside that red boundary. The shape, the length, the width, all that we need to still discuss to figure out what makes the most sense. 15 to 20 year cell hopefully would be our goal. We would also have to add leachate collection to be in compliance as well. The leachate collection, we think we would drop it to like, the south corner of the back of the landfill, and then we'd have to do the ditching to bring all of the runoff. Leachate is all the runoff, any water that touches the garbage or comes from firefighting, the garbage all has to be collected, tested, sampled, and then would have to be sucked up and taken to the lagoon once it passed the testing.
The actual site where you do the expansion.
Is this an actual road?
So we did some test holes a few years, 4 years ago, where we done some test pits, and we have very, very good clay. Now, because of an existing site that we have, they may still require us to put a line, a geoliner. So our estimate of the 8.5 million includes using a geoliner. If we can get away from it, that would really cost down, but I just wanted to have it like a safety there for that, because I don't know how that would react, but we have a really good clay there for doing action.
How close to the town limit line can you go? Or are those all trees? Are those trees there? Is that what that is?
So there's several colors there. So it goes from, so let's go from the red boundary.
Yeah.
It's kind of swampy, kind of going to the east, and right at the edge of that page is roughly, the picture is roughly where the tree line starts. There's just tall grass and sort of growth.
So how close to the town limit line can you go? Is there regulation on that?
Yes, and because we already have an existing site, we are grandfathered for the siting. So
That's
if,
right.
so if we were gonna go and build a new landfill, it would take, 5 years potentially to kind of get to a point. And then all your siting requirements, because if we build in our existing footprint on our own property, we can potentially just require amendments to our license to do these,
Okay.
to make these changes, I guess is probably the easiest way
And
to
this
say it.
for this is 3 years window for this grant.
Yeah, and in talking with environmental approvals about timeframe, we said, what if, like, let's assume the construction takes somewhere like in the 1.5 year range to get to substantial completion. We're just moving earth, putting a liner down. I mean, it's not like huge work. On the approval side, could they meet like a 1 year to 1.5 years? He said, that's not a problem. Yeah. The approvals, sorry.
Okay, this is a strange question, but I think a legitimate one. Your red line is basically identifying what your current footprint is.
Yeah.
Why is our property not squared off, and is there not expansion you could go in the squared off direction? I mean, that's not our property owning. That's just currently where we exist. So how much more could you kind of square it off to get close to, as Councilor Atkinson pointed out, where our boundaries are? How close?
So that red line on the easterly side is 430 meters from the edge of our property line, from the easterly property line. The northern property line is basically the road allowance.
Yeah.
Just
So what you're
That one looks straight. The other one kind of follows what our current footprint is. Could we not square it off, or are there other structures and other property lines that are causing you to be in that configuration?
What that picture is only showing this landfill, is not showing our full property.
Right.
So
So
yeah,
could we grow,
Yeah,
could
yeah.
we grow, that's what I mean, instead of, because we keep showing our existing footprint, not anywhere to the east or to the south. The north we can't, because again, road allowance, but
South is a little bit tight, so to the south, it's sort of cut off on the photo, but it's our soil remediation site, and I believe the edge of the red boundary to our southerly property line is 200 meters approximately. So it's a little tight, and then it'll be tough to get back there, so.
But you would make this landfill west or east.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just where the property line is now, you would seal that landfill off. You would start capping it as you're building the other one. And then you would actually create a new landfill cell, which would have the new equipment. You would close down your old one, and then you would
Yeah, we punch a road through,
So just like
bobcat
you're saying,
everything.
yeah.
I'm just wondering if that's where we're limited by that line?
Yes, yes, sorry, that is exactly correct. So we cannot, so whenever they come to inspect, they always will look off the edge to see if we've been pushing the garbage off the edge, because that was the design
Red
cell. That was the design cell.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we probably already have infringed a little bit on that, but that's
So realistically, you hit it dead on that red line, your garbage stops right at that line and.
worse, that's how good we are.
Or that's what engineering did.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
professional.
I guess my only feedback is, I think it's necessary. I don't want us to start building and spending $4.5 million of community money any faster than we have to build it. So it would be nice to see a bit of a timeline laid out on a sheet for us to do that. My only other concern, I know there's a tight turnaround on this grant. Do we think that if we miss this opportunity on this grant and allow us to put a little bit more work into the project itself, are we pretty sure there's gonna be another grant come up?
This is definitely not the first grant for landfills that we've seen, and it definitely won't be the last. This one is very specific, where there was lots of good language in there that we felt, and we check a lot of these boxes, like this is a pretty, like, we felt pretty confident that like, if there was ever one that we were gonna win or get,
Yeah.
this is probably a decent one to start with, but I understand what you're saying in terms of asset management, like, how much longer can we wait till we get to a point where we like, you know what I mean?
Well, it becomes a little bit more critical, and I'm not saying you take it right to the edge, but you wanna get as much life out of it and keep your money in your bank account as long as you can. But it also, I think, we need to spend a little bit of time in deciding what regionally we're gonna end up doing. If there is an opportunity to join, I would rather take a few $1 million and invest in new garbage trucks and a collection system to drive garbage to another landfill than to have the same old, right?
Definitely we have been reluctant to ever even pitch. This will be the first time since I've been here that we've pitched an expansion in our existing in our existing footprint. Partially because the regional concept has sort of always been, an overarching theme and a goal. There's been several roadblocks, obviously, and challenges when it comes to that.
I guess I don't wanna miss the opportunity to get 50% of a project cost, but I'm just not sure I can actually comfortably say that this is a good idea. Like, it's a good idea, but I'm just not 100% sure that I've got all the information to be able to make a good decision personally. I don't know what the rest of council feels.
We've got more information on this than we have on a regional landfill. I'm happy with all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We don't, you mentioned it, we don't know all the ins and outs of that, and what control are we gonna have, if any.
Well, and again, I don't know if that, again, spending,
I would, a broader discussion on the regional landfill, I think, is necessary. However, because it's like contractual, I think maybe it would warrant an in-camera discussion at some point, because it is a contract, it's a negotiation that would have to occur, so I think it would meet the criteria.
okay, well, we'll take,
I have a quick question.
yeah, go ahead.
What would be nice would be if we were to approve this, because you said 5 years would be a max.
5 to 7 years.
And how much time does this
We have
last?
3 years from the time the agreement is signed. We won't know about project funding until March or April 2025. So we have 3 years from the end of March, end of April to complete the project. So we do have some dollars for engineering work. Now that this program is launched, we believe that cost of engineering would also fit under, the program is launched. So if we get the project dollars approved, that engineering would get covered under the grant. If not, then we still have a shovel-ready project, but the deadline for application is November 15th.
But this buys us how much time, Sam? If we expand this way,
No rate increase.
We
how
could,
much life do we?
that's something with the regulators that we'd have to discuss to see how big they let us go, but we would not move forward if it wasn't gonna be at least 15 to 20 years.
Okay,
Right, like if we're gonna spend the money for leachate collection and they say, well, you can build a 5-year cell, we're just gonna go, sorry, take the
Okay.
grant back, like we pass.
So can I ask you a quick question so that I don't wanna hold it up? Could I get an idea, yeah, oh, sorry,
No, go ahead.
could I get an idea of what a special service levy would look like to fund the 4.5 million? And can we also get an idea how much money we have available to borrow as a debenture just specifically for the additional landfill costs? And what the impact would be on the community if we created a special service levy just on landfill? Because I don't think this is again, I don't believe that this is something that if we're gonna take $4.5 million and if it's a debenture over 20 years, you know, we're talking a mill rate increase on the debenture. Just doing quick, this kind of math, but it's a 22.5 mil increase if we try to spend it all in 1 year.
And we'd be paying for that debenture 15 years past the time of the dump.
Yeah.
You'd still be paying for that.
Yeah.
The dump's closed.
And yeah, and then, sorry, I know you had a question, Counselor. There's no federal funding yet that we would even approach for this.
Right.
It might not still even be the entire 4.5. We might still get that cut down a bit, but you know.
Councilor Allen?
So I've had the pleasure of covering council since Councillor Hopper was his worship, and this topic has come up since that time at least. I'm gonna say it's probably been about 15 years since your predecessor said that we had about 1 year left in the landfill. So
I remember those questions when you were in your previous capacity, yes.
Yes, so my question probably is reiterating what those questions were all those years ago. How accurate is this assessment that it's 5 to 7 years, considering probably had an assessment of 5 to 7 years 15 years ago?
So the original assessment that I believe you're referring to was in the JRCC report. And I believe the action taken by my predecessor at the time was to purchase the compactor to help compact the garbage. I think that bought us 40% additional airspace. I don't know, we should have already been at capacity then, still based on that estimate. So these numbers, again, we're just assessing it based on how much volume of refuse is coming to the landfill, using sort of the top of the trees as our theoretical point. Can we push it beyond 7 years? If we have to, we sort of have to, right? We'll do the best we can. But even to get to that 7 year point, we're likely going to have to reorganize at least one of the burn bays and reintegrate a road. Like no matter what we do in the next 5 to 7 years, we're still going to be spending money out there, capping it more often, doing more work out there, trying to kind of keep it a little bit safer so that we don't have as many fires and the fire department doesn't have to be out there once a month or more. So I feel pretty strongly about the number because I've seen the calculation. I was part of the calculation, and I kind of understand where they were coming from, and it's coming from like our GPS data of the landfill. So I feel pretty confident that that 7 year, 5 to 7 year window is going to be pretty close. But every time we have a fire, we probably gain 1%.
And that's what I was gonna say, the thing about timelines, just like climate change, every time we take a better action, that timeline gets extended, that no one ever says, oh, they said we're all gonna die in 20 years. Here we are 25 years later. Well, yeah, because we took steps. Recycling has probably helped it. As you said, even the fires, as much as we're criticizing them happening, that was a benefit financially to extend the life of our landfill. But at the end of the day, yeah, our timelines, there's no way of knowing, because you could take some drastic improvements, the capping could be better, and
yeah,
would get 10,
if
50.
recycling explodes and people start to, recycle significant more, maybe that, goes to 8 or 9 years maybe, but I think the 5 to 7 year window based on how quickly we're seeing it go up and up, I think is pretty close.
Which is one of the comments that was made. We don't want to be doing a 20-year debenture on something that's in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Got to figure a way around that, and the information that Mayor's requested. We have a meeting on the 12th, I believe.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, can we even, without having to have a meeting, could we just get that, just email to us those questions, because
We need a resolution for which anyone that the council is going to say we should apply for.
we will have a meeting, a special meeting, if we go forward with that to get these two resolutions done.
And again, you can apply for it, can receive it, don't have to accept it if something changes.
Correct.
Or do you need a resolution to apply?
Yes, that's one of the.
That's one of the regulations.
Yes,
So I'm thinking, personally, I'm thinking we apply for it, and then we'll have all the numbers. Before we say, yes, we're gonna take it, then we're gonna do it along the metric. We'll have to decide on that.
Well, was saying though, Councillor Hopper, that in order to apply, they need a resolution. It's
Yeah.
part of
So we could do
the
a resolution next
application
meeting.
process.
There we go.
Yeah.
We have a meeting on the 12th, this
Yeah.
has to happen by the.
The 15th is.
Sam would love
15th is
writing
the
a grant.
deadline.
I'm saying, no, we're not gonna go ahead with it.
But this
That's,
is the kind of
that's a good point as well, right? Writing a grant that we, like, turning it down may leave a sour taste in the province's mouth, I don't know, but you guys are pretty, apt politically, that I'm sure you guys can turn that ship around.
Well, I think if we get that close enough, if we get close enough, get some of this information, if we get closer to the yes side than we are, because they'll still think we're sort of waffling a little bit, because it's a big decision. It does not add, it's gonna add 20 years. It's not adding 7 years to our landfill existence. So we'll put in some sort of way of covering that payment. I just think that we have to think a little bit differently than we've thought over the last 100 or number of years for the community, is that when we have these type of things come forward, this is a shared service. Everybody gets exactly the same service, and we should apply the way that it's done in other municipalities such as special service levies and such.
No different than what we do.
Yes, exactly.
I just want to add something. They gave us about 5 different areas that we can apply. Public safety, transportation, road, as well as the recreation, as well as the waste management. So if we are not going for this, we could go for another one.
Different
I
one.
just hope that we get something out of this opportunity.
Yeah, and I think what Sam has said as well is I think we could actually grab there'll probably be some more funding that will come up by the time that we get through this, so. Because landfills are the top priority right across the province, and federally they're talking about them, so I think that there's an opportunity there. And if we're comfortable with the actual timeline, if we need 3 years to make this happen, how much time do we have, right?
So just to continue where I was going. With this 7 years, is that including anything that we can do to extend the life, or is this just as things are operating today?
That's a great question. We started doing some research on like a garbage shredder. What we were studying suggests, you can save 60 to 80% of your airspace by shredding the garbage. That has a twofold advantage because not only do you get the airspace out of it, but also we believe that there'd be nothing to pick. Right, so when you take everything and break it down to that level, those cans become worthless because they're destroyed. There's sort of nothing there. But some of the challenges of again, it's early research on it. Because there's some wonderful units that are tracked, you can move them around. So we envision in one of the burn bays, we'd have this unit. They would just, they use a clamshell on the loader and they just pick up furniture and they just hammer it into the thing, and then a loader comes and scoops it up and sort of sprinkles it around and he runs it over, then we're good, it makes a big difference. However, winter usage was something we were concerned about. Obviously, those type of hydraulics, that type of machine in a winter environment would be harsh. So we need to build we need to build a Quonset or some sort of housing to put it in. So we've seen other places, other communities that do have shredders or maybe balers for garbage when they have, a mountain of garbage. The public comes to a nicely, concreted area, they dump their garbage, they drive away, skid steer Bobcat, puts it in a baler, puts it in a machine to shred it, destroy it, then we sort of manage going up top. So there are other means to do that same thing, but the shredder we looked at was like a brand new one is like $1 million. Plus then you have to look at buildings, and that still doesn't make us compliant in terms of leachate management, in terms of other factors. But to buy ourselves time, there are other options that we can look at. Like if this doesn't work out, then we go, okay, we have 3 years left and the regional is maybe just around the corner. Maybe we can buy something like that we would incorporate into the regional as part of a capital contribution, perhaps. Or something like that.
Okay, and then as far as recycling goes as well, obviously we're hoping to see recycling levels increase. What would that do for the levels or for the lifespan if it were to get back to say double what it is now?
I'm gonna have to get back to you exactly on how much more airspace that would buy us if, let's say we increase recycling by, 15% or 20%. I would have to look at that to kind of get back to you, to feel more comfortable providing a number. One calculation we can actually do is pre-COVID, post-COVID, when the number of bags change, and we can maybe give you a rough idea of how much increase we believe recycling was coming to the landfill.
And I know it's been discussed in past, maybe not like this council, but past councils about composting up there as well. Has that been looked into?
100%. So part of this application for the GRO that's required is also waste diversion streams. So part of our application to really sell the idea is it's not just expanding our landfill, but it's creating opportunity for more waste diversion in our landfill. So to have composting component, better burn bay, better recycling, better, different offshoots on the front end. That's gonna have to be a huge part of the grant application because that's what they want to see. It's not just build another cell, bury the garbage. It's like, what are you gonna do to divert as much as you can before you get to the new cell?
Right, like I agree with Mayor Murphy's assessment that we do need to do this, but it's good to know exactly how much time we got to play with so we can get this grant done proper. So if there's mitigating factors that can allow us to have maybe an extra year or 2 or 3, I think that we should at least be advised of what those are, how much it'll cost us, what we need to do.
Bag reduction. Go back to tip, or we don't need to.
You know what, most people in town believe it's still 2.
Which once every 2 weeks.
Okay, anything else do we need you guys clear from where we're coming from, or what information is needed? And then if there's an urgent thing where we need to meet again to talk about this prior to this timeline, then we will have a special meeting to talk about it. We don't want to slow down because we got to meet every 2 weeks. The next one was around, around Centennial Park. Looks like the cost coming to the community would be about $200,000. If they get half of the, I think it was, about $200,000 that would come, there is money in the reserve. I think there's also would be potential to get some additional funding there. When you look at that area down, what they're talking about at Centennial Park, I think we do need to make the next step and make it accessible and fix the grass and do all the right things down there. So we have a nice facility. I think they would bring the community groups together. So I'm supporting this, but I'll leave it to you guys to decide what you think. Finish it.
I just have, I guess, one question, one comment. My question was is that it looks like this would basically completely gut our parks reserve. Is that going to expose us to any potential risks?
I think that one of the things that I would take that is that it will be our decision whether we want to spend that all from reserves or move some to taxation. I think when you look at that, he's looking for additional funds as well. So that would be the push to get the additional funds. And then we can decide how much we go out of reserves and how much we go out of taxation.
That would be part of my concern. Don't want to be the negative guy here, but I look at this as just another opportunity to have another new effective park in town. I think we have a lot of beautiful parks that have potential, but they've been neglected for so long that I would much rather see either, like you said, a different stream of money to make sure we don't exhaust our reserves to prevent us from growing other parks. But we definitely need to look after what we have first and then grow into something special, because I just feel that this is going to be another eyesore that we have because we don't have the money to care for it and we have other parks that are already neglected.
That just actually plays into what my comment was going to be, is that like I'm all for this on one hand and I'm almost completely against it in the other, because I brought up graffiti countless times, especially within the parks, and I know it's really not been touched at all. I don't want to see a $500,000 playground decorated with all sorts of unmentionable images and wording, which are on countless playgrounds right now. So I think until there's actually some sort of way in place for us to get on top of that graffiti and stay on top of that graffiti, I'm probably not going to be in support of it.
Margaret?
The one thing I'd like to see more, I'm not too sure how what's happened lately, is more ownership of the parks. And you have the Rotary Park, so if it's a Rotary Park, you own it, you look after it. Kinsman Park, you own it, you look after it. Other communities do that, that's their park. So any, improvements that have to be made or equipment that has to be fixed, those groups take it. Or take, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then it's not, okay, well, we're gonna build it, here you go, town, well, we're gonna give it to you. And the next one, well, we'll build it and we'll give it to you. And it's more and more and more on the taxpayers. That golf, what do you call that golf thing?
This,
What is golf?
this golf.
And that's what it was. They came to us when we were on council and I said, okay, well, you can have it, but you're gonna own it. You can do it, but you want your name on it or whatever, you're gonna do it. And it was what? 6 months later, they said, well, this is gone. Can you fix it? No. Like, you want people to take ownership,
Walking past ours.
you know?
Yeah,
It just,
that's another big one on
it's
the
just.
horizon.
We'll do our thing, which is absolutely wonderful that these projects are started, but then these are your projects, so take ownership and look after them, and that's just my point. I
Have you
would like to
been,
see that.
have you been to Prince Albert in the past couple of years?
Well, not on purpose, no offense.
Just outside of PA, they have a beautiful park, Rotary Park in Hilltop. It's about $1 million park. It's an amazing complex where it's the large version of what's presented here, right? It's a little bit of everything. It's outdoor activities. It's not just play structures, right? It's an entire area. That's something I'd like to see developed. As Councillor Commodore said, get the community groups involved, but as we've said, I think we need to look after what we already have existing first, then we grow.
Anybody else? So I'll just, because I'm the mayor and I get to usually speak last, but, again, but I would say I'm in support of this. What concerns me about, this whole thing is that we have an investment in a spray park that has mud and we can't take care of it. We need to do more work around it. The facility is old. It's sort of like a gem right now in our community where it's a big gathering point. And it looks like it's not taken care of. So I agree with all the other things we're saying. We've got to take care of all the stuff that we have. Completely agree. But I wouldn't stop progress on that. This creates accessibility for people that don't have accessibility there now with wheelchair access. And it creates a gathering place for our community. And if we want to talk about urban revitalization and growing communities, these are the things that we need to have. On top of, we have to maintain all the stuff we have, and that should be easy. So I would be voting in favor of this if we're going forward. I don't know where we want to go with it, but I guess I will call whether we're going to put forward a resolution on this. So those in favor?
Let's support bringing a resolution.
Yeah.
Next meeting to see where it
100% gives people time to think as well, a little bit longer.
Okay, so support to bring a resolution forward to the next meeting, is that we have that support, we can either vote there or not at that time, so.
Possibly at that meeting as well, could we find out, and only if there's time for this, is at a prior meeting, there was talks of possible decommissioning of a park. I'm just curious to know if there's been any further talk around decommissioning, because if we're decommissioning, then fantastic, right? It'll be a little bit less just having green spaces to take care of, not necessarily structures.
So we could give that information to.
There's been definitely some discussion, obviously, if you were to restructure a park or change the outlook of a park, the neighborhood may react a certain way or not positively, it could be
Well,
positive and negative depending on the.
Again, I don't know, I think that my discussion around parks and decommissioning is we have to decide whether we want that park and the reason why it was there, and it's for ensuring that youth and all that sort of stuff, and then we have to take care of it.
I think we also need to know the reason for the decommissioning as well.
Yeah.
If the issue is that we can't stay on top of it, because we're short of hands. I know it's been mentioned before, we're not coming up on our third budget, haven't had a request for additional hands yet. So I'd like to know why we want to decommission.
Quite possibly, when you put it to the public, you're gonna decommission that park, and it's in their neighborhood. People might, why, well, who knows, they go back to the counter, maybe the neighborhood will take ownership. But
Maybe there's an adopted
definitely gonna
park.
have to consult the neighborhood if you're gonna try and decommission one. As you said, change the look, that would change the look.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are clear on that. Moving along to AMM meeting, so, I think Bola gave you guys this the last meeting, meeting requests. We're gonna put this in, so just looking for your input. We're gonna request to meet with the Minister of Health, talk about our meeting that from September. Talk about, have a meeting with the Minister of Justice, although the Minister of Justice has requested a meeting on the 14th, which I accepted. That would be virtual, so, if anybody's interested in coming, we'll be meeting in the office here.
November,
November 14th, it's on that list that she,
I took mine home.
I'll send you guys we'll send you an invite for that on the 14th. Me with the Minister, Bernadette Smith, Housing and Pensions. So I want to talk about the loss of the workplace, plans returningly, Manitoba housing, homeless shelter concerns, again, sharps in our community. Minister Smith, his office has been trying to get in touch with me, but I keep missing them. We can request to talk to Minister Naylor on the, Highway 60. As well as Gordon Avenue, quality of service, sort of Fisher Avenue sort of issue that we had there. And, get an update on Highway 283. And then, I talked about maybe we could see Minister Samard regarding sports, culture and heritage. Talk about, culture days, grant requests for specific things like parks and facilities and those things inside there. Talk about snowmobile trail supports, you know, one of the things is snowmobiles and the trail that they're developing from here to Churchill or to Thompson. Yeah, from here to Snow, anyways, there's a trail that's been developed.
It's not like so far.
That maybe and then on top of that, maybe we need a full-time tourism support person. I know we've got Jonathan kind of dabbling in it as a small contract person, so. Is there anything else anybody thinks or any ministers that we should see? If you do have something, send ASAP, and then because Bola is gonna submit this form on the 6th.
How many meeting slots do we have?
We probably won't see all these people anyway, so.
What I was wondering is if we want to say we have 5, which I'm assuming we don't, but let's say we have 5, and we're not gonna get all 5, do we wanna have backups in case we miss any of these 5? Cause I'd like to fill it up, right?
Yeah, well, I think if we come back and there's only 2, we'll chase others as well. I don't know, who else would you like to see?
I'd have to go off the top of my head.
That's why we provided option for 4.
So,
We just rank them, right?
yeah, Minister of Finance, we would like to see, right? I mean, we wanna talk about, but I sort of, when I was kind of thinking about this for the conversation in here, is that our Association of Manitoba Municipalities is already lobbying on a lot of things already. So I don't wanna just, I wanted to make it.
See Bushy again. Probably had some good programs a couple years or last year.
Yeah.
Spoke with him.
Sure, okay, I can put that in here too. I thought about him as well. But I didn't wanna, like I said, things that the AMM is lobbying on, I was thinking driving specific issues for the town of the Paw.
100% specific issues down the pond.
So we can talk to, so I'll write something up for Bushy and I'll send it to you guys. I'll send you guys this list again. Or I'll send it to the electronic one or Bola will. Hey?
That would be for the job.
Yeah.
The
That's okay.
RCMP one is November 14, 1:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah, the
RCMP.
the RCMP, the Minister of Justice. Okay,
1:15 is, and if it is online on Zoom, you can use
So the
this
6th
place so that
is the
all you
deadline?
can see.
the 6th is the deadline, Wednesday the 6th. So the 4th is the deadline for us. So Bola has time to put it together and get it. I'll send you guys something. So grant match, what do we want to do with that? Move forward with that?
I felt they answered all the questions, these ones I had, and they did a great presentation. And you can get out of the agreement if you don't like it, there's no risk there. I would say it'd be a good thing to do.
Can we get out of the agreement, or is it a 2-year agreement?
She said you can
She
get out of
said
it.
Right there.
6 months, it says 6 months notice?
6 months.
She said 30 minutes, it wasn't a long time.
Okay. I support it as well, like, I mean, if it's, we don't have anybody specific, we're gonna hire somebody, it's gonna cost you $70,000 a year anyway, so. They have a bigger program, wanna move forward with it? Everybody okay? Yeah?
So the only thing we have to pay for is any grants that they specifically apply for, not grants we get.
Just what we get.
Just we get through them,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Okay, as long as that's clear, yeah.
I mean, a 2-year contract.
Yeah, minimum 2-year contract, but, there's an exit, they have an exit clause, so. That you can get out with specific written notice or something. But I read the 2-year thing too, but I didn't catch that, but we can double check. I think at the end of the day, it's a good thing anyways for us. It does kind of put a little bit of pressure on our staff to get a real 5-year plan or multi-year plan so that we're not applying for things that we don't have the finances for. And the other thing is that if we don't have the finances for it, it's no use applying for grants.
It sounds like you asked, good questions there, whether the guardrails, federal, provincial, and.
Yeah, just making sure that, like, yeah, if we're not looking for a 20% grant opportunity to,
They'll contact us, obviously, before they're applying for, there's not gonna go apply for a bunch of grants, they're gonna talk to us first, if we're doing this.
it sounded like there'd be quite a bit of emails and phone calls with the
Yeah.
staff on the front end to kind of load them up, and obviously we'd have to meet with you, mayor and council to make sure that our
I support
objectives are planned.
Should we have meetings with each department to be able to know what exactly?
So well, I guess what we're, the council is saying, we support it. We'll bring forward a resolution for the next meeting and it looks like there's general support there. Okay, nothing in personnel, so we will move ourselves in camera. Oh, so, yeah.
Also, that we now move ourselves into the in-camera portion of the committee of the whole with Mayor Murphy and the chair to discuss matters requiring a calendar attention.
I want to start.
So, just before we shut down, everybody, we're going into in-camera, just to let the public know, there's gonna be no resolutions coming out of in-camera. This is just a discussion. We thank everybody for their evening. And, one recognition we forgot to give out, great job by everybody involved in the incident that occurred on Monday. We've had a great response from our RCMP, the Manitoba First Nations Policing, First Nations, CSOs or safety officers, the fire department, the, Manitoba Conservation, our staff. So thanks to everybody involved, keeping our community safe and also keeping our, to all of our community members. Thank you for sharing all the communications that was going on. It's what we're all about here in the north and in the tri community. And with that, have yourself a great night and stay tuned for the next one.
Happy Halloween.
Okay?
Happy Halloween.
Oh, happy Halloween. Don't watch all those little munchkins in the next couple of days.